Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Soundbridge YouTube channel. My name is Marco and I will be your host in this video. In this video, I will show you and we will go through the techniques for creating a synthwave music. And before we start with this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so we can send you the notification about our upcoming videos, and this will help our channel to grow. So let's hear the project that we will go through in this video. So as you are able to hear, this is the synthwave music. The synthwave is the music that is inspired by the disco music. And what's really specific about it is that it's maybe the first genre that used this much of the synthesizers and drum machines. So it's completely the first electronic dance genre, and it's really created the whole evolution and revolution inside of the music industry. In the last 2 decades, we were able to see the rise of a digital world, and what we were able to use, all the new stuffs were completely digital, while in the last just few years, we can see that there's a need for the analog synths, and we can see that many companies have started developing the new hardware analog synths, but also a lot of them are in the form of VST instruments. And this is what we're going to use in this video. So let's start with the drums, and I believe that first step for creating a good sounding synthwave music is the drum kit selection. So what I did over here, I used Rhythmics, and I did find a certain samples. So I have a kick here, which really reminds on a disco. I have the closed hi-hat. I have the snare. It's pretty big. It does really remind on the 80s. And I did insert the same snare on 2 different pads as I did the certain variations. So I have the first punch, which is pretty strong and fully opened, while the second one is a little bit shorter. So what I did, I went to the edit window. I put the amp envelope to make it a bit shorter, and I also decreased a little bit of the cutoff so it loses a little bit of the high information. So the drums sounding like this. I wanted to create a variation and certain progress into the drums as well. So the first bit is pretty simple. So there's just a kick, snare, and close hi-hat. And then on the second one, I used that second snare which I created just to create some shots in between of the snares. As I wanted the track to have a certain progress. Now I will move to the bass line. For the bassline synthesis, I used the Vital, which I believe is really nice. And what I did, I just chose the basic shapes, which is just the next waveform from here. And then moving this over here, we are able to select the different waveforms. And I believe that this kind of asymmetrical square sounded really nice. Level I didn't touch. I used 4 different voices, 3% of detune. And from the phase side, I didn't touch anything. And in order to create a bit more analog feeling, I just kept the randomization of the phase on 100, which means it's going to start every time on a different position, and it does create this analog sounding effect. The second thing I did, I put the envelope 2 directly to the filter's cutoff, turn on the filter, chose the 12 dB, and I did reduce a little bit of the resonance, but not all the way down. So I just kept a little bit of the resonance because I believe it's helping to get this more analog sounding bass line. And I did increase the drive all the way up. And from the effects side, I did add a little bit more distortion, linear fold, drive to around 60 and mix to around 50, and the EQ, and I did boost a little bit on the 200 area. So I believe that this boost on 200 Hz will actually make it to sound a bit more analog as well. And I did use LFO2, and I connected it directly to the master of the output of the Vital, because I didn't want to use any other plugin to create a ducking effect. I used directly LFO from the Vital itself. but I just increased just for a little bit, like 0.120, and the LFO looking like this, so it creates a little bit more space for the area of the kick because I set it to 1/4 and it's synced, which means that this is the area where the kick is gonna hit. If I increase this a little bit, so I just increased it a little bit in order for you to hear better, but what it does basically just loses a little bit of power when the kick hits in and then it brings it back. So the bassline sounds like this. Let's move to the next part, and this is one of the most important things, is making the chord progression of a track. So what I did over here, I just tried to find a good combination, and basically I just chose like F and then D sharp, and I used the perfect fifth for both of them. So once creating the chord progression, let's say we can use the key root note, and then we can add the perfect fifth to it, and then the note in between of those two will mark the track, will it be the major or minor. And I didn't want to do this in this track because I found it sounds really good with only the fifth. So there's an F and there's a C, which is C is a perfect fifth from the F, and then the D sharp and A sharp. So this one and this one are exactly the same, it's just in a different voicing. So if I move this one all the way up, we are able to see that they are exactly the same, but just in order to have a certain variation and to create the whole game a little bit more interesting, I just tried to use a different voicing for each of these hits. So we have something sounding like this. So basically this is F, then D sharp, then again F, and then again D sharp. Once I had the progression of a track, I just tried to follow with the bass line, and this is how I created these notes. But what I did next is something that's gonna push the track to next level, as I used the record and I did insert it just before the vital, because all the MIDI effects should be used just before, because they're gonna use the MIDI that we wrote already or that we are playing, they're gonna modify it and they're gonna push it into the vital. So what I did, I used the rate here on 1/8, the gate on 90, repetitions on 0 for the bass line. If I wanted to have a different velocity, I could turn it on, but I didn't need it for this part of a track. Shift on 0 and swing on 0 because I don't have any swing in this track. And the distance on 12, this is going to be important for the next example. And because it's set to 1/8, whatever I play is gonna start triggering the same note that I have pressed on every 8. So as I already have this MIDI over here, like F, D sharp, F, and then certain melody changes, it's gonna sound like this. And what's the best part of it is that I drew the automation over here, and what I did, I just automated the rate. So I wanted to move from 1/8 to 1/16 in a part of a track where I wanted the track to kind of speed up a little bit. So it's gonna go for a certain amount of time on hitting the 1/8, and then it's gonna move to 1/16. I don't have any effects after the vital, and basically it's just the synthesis in vital and record, and we already have something really great sounding. For the third channel, I use the Prophet V3, which is kind of vintage sounding VST instrument, and I did want to have something sounding like this. Now the fourth channel, I just duplicated this one. I used a different voicing. I added like the third note, which is the same as the key root note. And I did choose a different preset. Again, I used the Prophet as well. So it's the same progression, just a different voicing. The fifth channel, again, I have the same MIDI, but now I wanted to have something more sounding like a pad and something that's gonna give this analog warmth to a whole groove. When the drums are starting together with the bass line, I just wanted to fill that space with certain paddy sound. And the 6th channel is for the bells, but I will cover the 7th one first because this is the first part of the melody when the track is starting. And for the 6th channel, I created the melody using the bells, as I believe the bells specifically made the whole era of the disco music, and I do believe that just by using the bells with a certain melody can bring the whole track to the same vibration as the music in 80s. And the 8th channel is for arpeggio. So what I did, I basically just copied exactly the same MIDI as we have on the bass line. Pro Q3 just to reduce a little bit of the lows. But again, I have the record here in different settings. So instead of 1/8, I have on 1/16, the gate is on 100. And important is that I have repetitions on 2 set over here. So setting it to 0 and pressing the key root note, we have exactly the same note triggered on every 16th. But if I set it to 1 and distance to 12, it's gonna trigger every 16th. It's going to be 12 seminotes distances. So every next 16 is on the octave up. So up, down, up, down, up and down. And if I set it to 2, it means it's gonna go to the bass, which is 0, then the octave 1 because it's 12, and then 24 again. I could also use the chords, like let's say. But for this track, I believe that setting it to 1/16, the gate on 100, repetitions on 2, and distance to 12, and I do believe that this arp actually made it to sound really, really good. And together with the bass line in this part, when it starts moving to 1/16, drums. Bells. And I just use a certain vocal over here, which is a sample. It's a kind of pop sample, but I just wanted to have it over here in order to hear how it's gonna translate the whole track if I used certain vocals. This would be all for this video. I really hope that you liked our video. And if you did like it, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can send you the notification about our upcoming videos. And I would like to thank all of you for watching and see you soon with another video. Bye.